Everyone has a prenup. Prenups are not wealth exclusive. They're a mainstream financial tool, particularly if you're starting a business. Everyone has a prenup. The one that you created, or it's the one that goes with the rules of whatever state that you're in.
You either have a say in what is in there or you default to the state.
Everyone has one. The misconception that people have, a prenup means you're planning for divorce. Actually, a prenup to me is one of the most optimistic things that you can do.
People come to first, they're planning on getting married. What happens?
We ask you how you'd like to treat your premarital property and what you'd like to do with your postmarital properties, things you earn or inherit or acquire.
I want to talk about how women can protect themselves in partnership, particularly our community who are building businesses.
We are definitely seeing student loan debt, pets, social audiences in their prenuptial agreement. We've had creators come through and they're like, well, my partner's my producer. Again, these agreements are not for today.
Yeah.
They're for tomorrow.
Hey, business besties, welcome back to Female Founder World. I'm Jasmine, I'm the host of the show. And today I'm chatting with Libby Leffler. She's the founder and CEO of First. Libby, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's so great to be here.
Okay, people that don't know First, what are you guys building?
So we are an online prenuptial agreement platform with real lawyer review.
I think one of your investors maybe told me to reach out to you when I was kind of messaging her saying, this is a conversation that we need to have on the show. I'm seeing this come up in my TikTok feed. Who do I talk to? And she was like, oh, we need to talk to Libby.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we love that, right? One of our investors who's investing in our company and helping us kind of get things going, making that connection to you and kind of your community is so special, and really excited to be here and talk about this.
We're going to talk about how ambitious entrepreneurial women protect themselves in partnership. Right. I'm going to have that conversation with you and I'm very excited about it. And I also want to know about Building First and your background and what's working in this business because it is such a cool concept. I really, really love it.
Let's do it.
How did you get started?
In First or in technology? Because I've worked in the tech industry now for almost 20 years. So that's right. I started my career at Google, and that got started with a cold resume inbound at a time when there were a lot of people interested in working at Google. And like it was just an amazing tech company. I went to college in the Bay Area. So I went to UC Berkeley and then was really interested in kind of what I know today to be these global scale companies with massive impact. And so really wanted to go work at Google and started my career there. I was at Facebook after that, and then at SoFi, which is a fintech company, at Compass as well, also a fintech company in the real estate business. So it's been a really cool journey. And then along the way, I always was interested in founding something. I think I always found myself in positions at all of those different companies where if there was a new team, I was like, yes, let's go do it, or something new to build. And so after the journey with Compass, and that company went public in 2021, as I was moving on from that opportunity, I thought, there's probably no better time, right? You can never really, no one else can push you kind of over that ledge, so to speak, except yourself. And so I finally did. So here we are, Building First.
I love the idea of any kind of resource or tool that is taking something that is usually reserved or gatekept for a certain group of people and making it accessible to everyone else who has the ambition and has the want.
I mean, prenups are not wealth exclusive. They're a mainstream financial tool that is so important, particularly if you're starting a business, which I know your besties are all about, right? Like if you're starting whatever it is, your new startup, your newest side hustle, you're creating a brand, a community, you're building something, whatever it might be, you have real value in that and ownership in that. And so this is bigger than a conversation just about, okay, well, what are my premarital assets, the things that I own and, have before getting married, and how do I want to treat my postmarital property, right? Things I earn or inherit or acquire later. But it's more about how do you think about the things you're investing in and how do you invest in yourself? Everyone has a prenup. Everyone has a prenup. It's the one that you created, or it's the one that, basically goes with the rules of whatever state that you're in. And so as we think about the prenuptial agreement process, we want to make it faster than ever, easier than ever, and really legally sound and solid so people have a great place to turn to take advantage of these types of tools, which are just very powerful for all of us to know about and to be able to have at our fingertips.
That is such a good call out. Everyone has a prenup. You either just have a say in what is in there or you default to the state.
That's right. Everyone has a prenup. This mic is like shaking in front of me. Everyone has one. It is, and we tell people this all the time. Now I have customers reaching out to us that basically say this to us. I'm getting this agreement because we all are going to have a prenup and we want to craft our own. And that makes us really excited. It makes me as a founder so very excited to think about all of the customers that we work with and being able to help them. We're totally pro-marriage. And so that's the other thing. And I think the misconception that people have is, well, a prenup means you're planning for divorce. Or actually, a prenup to me is one of the most optimistic things that you can do. Like, you're planning for your investment in yourself in the future. You're planning for what you're creating together. And there's no better time to hash that out and have that money talk than before the stakes are really, really high and things are not so great.
There's also this misconception around who prenups are for. And I think when I look at my kind of like friendship circle, and even though there are so many ambitious, successful, self-made women in there, I think there's still this idea that prenups are something that are kind of like put on women by like wealthy men or something. But you're finding that actually a lot of the people that are coming to first are women instigating this.
So more than 50% now of our customers initiating prenuptial agreements are women.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. And that's in opposite sex marriages, of course, but that's really different than the trends that you might see even 5-10 years ago. When we have people reaching out to us asking about our services or inquiring about what we do, it feels very collaborative, right? We want this to be collaborative, not competitive. We don't want people coming at this from a place of, an argumentative place, right? We want it to feel very amicable, that it strengthens your relationship, that it gets you talking about things that you would have otherwise maybe not ever discussed, and really opening your eyes to a whole wide array of different topics and conversation that you'll be really happy that you hashed out with someone before you walk down the aisle.
Okay, so what is the process? People come to first, they're planning on getting married. What happens?
Yeah, so people come to first, you create an account, sign up, you purchase your prenup. We ask you a series of questions about your assets and liabilities, which are important as you create a prenuptial agreement. And then what we do is we ask you how you'd like to treat your premarital property, so stuff that you have before you've gotten married, and what you'd like to do with your postmarital property. So what your wishes are for things you earn or inherit or acquire later. And so our goal as a platform is really to collect all of that key information right up front. So the customer is providing all that information and context in advance of connecting with a lawyer that they choose on our platform. The way to think about us and the way we've been described, and Fortune described us as the TurboTax for prenups. You come in and you could be talking to a lawyer tonight, finalizing a draft of your prenup.
This is such a smart business idea. And I've got more things I want to ask you about prenups and how people protect themselves in partnership. But I want to talk about your business for a little while, because I'm listening to this concept. And when you just said the TurboTax for prenups, I'm just like, oh, this is so, so smart. So you're building essentially a marketplace of lawyers and people who need these lawyers, and then you've got the infrastructure in the middle. What are you doing right now to grow your customer side of the business?
So we do a lot of things, and we think about this like a flywheel that kind of all works together. So part of that flywheel is, for example, like being here and sitting with you and talking about our product and what we do. And we try to be out there as much as possible in front of our customer to talk to them about the new things we're offering, new states we might be available in. And so I spend a lot of time kind of taking those opportunities to educate and help people learn about what we do. Of course, we invest in paid marketing. I think today in a consumer business, really everyone's doing that, but we're always trying to learn, iterate, leverage data to make decisions about how we get increasingly better and just more efficient in paid marketing. So
like Meta, Google.
Yeah. I would say Meta, Google. I mean, I think I read a stat somewhere this year that like 99% of most startups' paid marketing budgets really are like Meta and Google. Yeah. There is really interesting prenup conversation and dialogue that happens in Reddit. And so we try to kind of meet our customers where they are there.
That's interesting.
But there is a paid marketing side to our business. And then there is, of course, like an organic side. And so that really comes from content education. People are so craving information about this.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of people coming to us through that content. So we produce all kinds of original content. Community building is very important. We invest in our social channels. We're active on Instagram, on TikTok. Actually, LinkedIn is a really interesting place for us. And I post there, pretty frequently, at least a few times a week. But you would be, or maybe you wouldn't be, surprised at the number of people who reach out to me on LinkedIn, founders, executives in businesses that are like, hey, I need to get a prenup. Like, can I do this with First? And I never really thought LinkedIn would be a place for that. But if you think about who our customer is, it's actually like the perfect
Totally.
place
If they're
for that.
active on LinkedIn, they're probably a certain kind of ambitious kind of person who a prenup makes sense for.
Yeah. And again, these are all very tactical tools as your community is thinking about building their businesses. Like, we don't want people to gatekeep prenups, and we don't want to gatekeep how we grow our businesses.
Yeah.
I've been on LinkedIn for a very long time, and at every stage of my career have posted things there and connected with people there, networked there, learned there. And just in my organic, like day-to-day posting about whatever was going on, I realized that actually we're starting to see such an interest building from that community. It was something I never expected. I think I knew, and that's why I engage with that community. So we think about social and content and how all of those pieces fit together. And then, of course, we engage in email and all of those different parts of the ecosystem. Like, it all really works together as we think about holistically marketing our product and taking it to customers no matter where they are.
Who's doing this work on your team? What does it look like, your staff setup?
We have a really scrappy, nimble team. So we have a bunch of people with their hands kind of all in everything. We've got folks that work on operations and marketing and help our customers. We have a prenup concierge that kind of helps our customers navigate, things that they're encountering and as part of the process. Of course, we have engineers, which are, so important for us to have those technical team members that help us build out this end-to-end infrastructure. And then design. Great design is such a cornerstone of what we do. When improving a process like this, you really have to take a step back and look at every little minute detail of how people would formerly get a prenuptial agreement, which leads us to design in certain ways and to say, where are the friction points? Like, one of the reasons that we collect all the key information up front about the prenup is because we want to hand that off in the process to be able to get to the final product faster. Because when we're not a template product, it's a custom product that's tailored to your wishes. And so we want to have all that key information up front and your wishes to understand, okay, how should this take shape in the form of this agreement? So we took a step back and looked at and examined every part of the process. We studied family law attorneys and their practices and how they worked.
What is that like? Do you follow them, or do you working side by side? Are you having calls and kind of being like, talk me through your process? What does that look like?
The first step that it looks like uber tactically, is thinking about how you connect with the subject that you're looking to kind of observe, right? So if you take this into another industry, like maybe you're interested in reinventing healthcare, right? Maybe you reach out to a physician, or maybe you reach out to like a nurse practitioner and you're like, hey, can I shadow you? Hey, would you like to advise my company, right? There are a million different flavors that you can do this. I still remember like where I was and the cold call that I made to a very well-known family law attorney who's based in California. And I had not a pixel of my product, like nothing, like maybe the beginnings of a wireframe on what this would look like, maybe, but an idea, right? Of we want to build this platform. We think the lawyer is incredibly important to this. We're not a law firm. We're not trying to be a law firm, right? We don't refer people to lawyers. We help people simply connect and engage those lawyers. And just asking this person like, hey, can I learn more about what you do? And you'd be surprised, like people want to teach you. She was super excited. She kind of came and sat with our team and we had multiple sessions, sight unseen. Like we spent multiple times together. She looked kind of at materials and different things. That to me was such an amazing turning point, I think, as we were building, because it really takes it from, this is an idea in someone's head and maybe it's in a deck and maybe we're circulating it here and getting input. But once you start talking to someone to really understand, like, what is the breakdown in this process? And she would take us through too. Then at the end of the month, I have to do all this billing and I've got to do the marketing and I've got to do the overhead and the drafting takes me this much time. And we're thinking to ourselves, okay, well, if we work with lawyers and help connect people to engage lawyers, how can we remove all of that heavy lifting for them so that they can come and do what they're meant to do?
I'm so interested in this area, and like the reason why I wanted to ask this question is because I think a lot of people they see a problem because maybe they're on the other side of this, like they're a customer experiencing the problem, but because they're not a nurse, a doctor, a lawyer, or whatever, they don't want to go into that space, and they feel like it's there's a big barrier between being able to make an impact. But I feel like what you just shared is like, no, actually, like those professionals, people in the industry that you want to disrupt can help you and will actually like help guide you and be the people that can help shape the product.
I mean, it depends on what you're working on, but I think absolutely.
Yeah.
The other piece of it is we feel the pain of problems. And that's how a million great businesses have been started, right? When we feel the pain of those issues. But sometimes you have to really dig in and go, why does that pain exist?
Yeah.
Is there a good reason for that? Is there something that's not quite getting solved in that journey that we can be uniquely good at? Right. One of the things that we do, one of the modules in our system is called alignment. It's in our platform, and it's where you share kind of your wishes for your premarital and postmarital property, and your partner shares theirs. And then we show you instantly where you align or where you don't align, most importantly. And we're like, hey, there's 3 things you don't align on. Have the conversation. Here's how to think about this. Get aligned so we can move forward. We're here to help. So that part of our platform is patent pending, and we think about it as probably the most important cornerstone of what we do, because the alignment between these 2 partners is really like, that's the heart and soul of any kind of contract between 2 people. And so we've had lawyers that, we learned only about that alignment and the challenges that come in the prenup process because we talk to people who do this. Now, maybe you go, I don't want to talk to people who do this because I'm trying to reinvent something completely different. And that's okay too. It's important that you're opinionated about your business and your product. And we knew for what we do, because of the industry we're in, we really have to get it right.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is just customer conversations.
Okay, I want to switch gears in the conversation a little bit and talk a bit more about how women can protect themselves in partnership, particularly our community who are building businesses, and maybe they're in the really early days and they're like, I don't really have anything like to protect. And it's kind of like, well, if you're spending all your time building this thing, in 10 years, you might. And so what does...
I mean, you might in a year.
You might in a year. You might tomorrow.
We hope you do.
Yes, exactly. But come into this assuming that you're going to be successful and have something that you want to protect in this partnership and in this marriage. So let's talk a little bit about maybe some of the unexpected things that Gen Z and millennial women are doing when it comes to prenups that their parents didn't do. Our parents didn't do this. How are we different, and what are the trends that you're seeing?
So first, I think it's just more accessible than ever to start a business, right? Like, you could start a business right now on Instagram and create a community, and you could have hundreds of people tonight that are following you by doing a number of different things. You know what those things are. And so that in itself is very powerful. And anything like that you create where you're putting your time, your energy, your talent, deserves to be called out in this type of process as something you may further invest in or build. We are definitely seeing millennials and Gen Z include student loan debt in their prenuptial agreements. That's like very common. So people are, mentioning to us that they would like to keep that student loan debt separate in many cases, or if they decide to go back to school after they're married, how they want to treat that kind of student loan debt. Inheritance is one of the top 3 reasons that people come to us to get a prenup. And so there will be a massive, great wealth transfer in the next, less than a decade. And women really stand to gain from that massive windfall. So we are increasingly seeing people encouraged by their parents to come to get a prenuptial agreement because the parents want to make sure that the things that they're leaving behind to their children are properly called out and protected as well. Another really big thing that's very popular with millennials and Gen Z is pets. Pets are increasingly an impetus for a prenuptial agreement. I think it's pretty common these days for millennials or Gen Z to have a pet maybe before they have a marital partner. And so almost 50% of our customers do include a pet of some kind in their prenuptial agreement and make provisions for that pet's care, as well as even potentially custody schedules of that pet.
Wow.
Pets are property in a form. So that is a major thing. And then, everything from social handles, social audiences. Like we've had creators come through and they're like, well, my partner's my producer, and they may have a podcast or they may have an account that they both run. And so they're thinking about how to kind of delineate who owns that and who owns that audience. We've had folks come through that are songwriters that have IP and songs that they've created and artists, and it's every kind of person. It's every kind of person with all sorts of different things. We've had people ask us, I mean, all of these things people write into our like company email. And they'll be like, can I put my, vintage video game console in my prenup?
And it's about what's important and valuable to you,
It's about
right?
what's important to them. The thing to remember about this is it's actually not just about money. It's about the things that are most important to you. So if your business is important to you, or the community that you're building is important to you, or making sure that your partner, right, is not on the hook for your student loans, that might be important to you, making sure that your pet is properly accounted for. These are things that are important to the people that are getting these agreements. It's not just about money.
And the reason why I wanted to ask you that is because I think I want people who are listening to this conversation to kind of start thinking, get the wheels turning in their own minds about, oh, okay, like actually maybe this is for me. Like maybe this is something I should consider.
Again, these agreements are not for today.
Yeah.
They're for tomorrow. They're for tomorrow you. So if you believe in yourself and what you're building, like anyone listening to this conversation is already investing in themselves for tomorrow. And so my biggest push to people who wonder if this is for them is really about, what is the downside of even just a conversation about this? What's the downside? Not a conversation about even prenuptial agreements. Like, what's the downside of a conversation about, hey, let's have a conversation about money. We've spent 100 hours planning our wedding. We've had 0 conversations about money. We've been talking about cake flavors and flowers and venues and arguing about this. But are we talking about what happens if there's a financial disaster in our lives? Are we talking about what happens in the season where one of us is working for a startup that goes crazy successful and is a rocket ship and, goes public, and what happens then? And would we change our lifestyle? And what does that mean for us? Even starting there today, I think is so powerful. It's not about like, well, a prenup's for me or not for me. I think it's more about, are you up for having that conversation because you're worth it? You're worth it. And that's what I would say to everyone here. Like, forget the prenup. We have lots of customers that need a prenup and we can help them. This is a conversation about, do you believe deep down that like you're worth planning out and betting on yourself for the future? I believe everyone is.
I've got some FAQ quickfire kind of things. The first one is, if you haven't launched a business yet, but you want to in the next few years, that's something that you can account for in a prenup, right? It doesn't just have to be a business that you've currently started.
Yeah,
It can be
potential
something you're
future
gonna do in the
businesses or future things. Absolutely. And can I mention something? I said this at the start, and I don't hear people say this that often. So I do want to, I want to share this one thing. If you're thinking of starting a business, no one is going to push you to do that but you. Just start.
Yeah.
Just get started. Like one little thing a day will compound and become something else. You'll never know what you can do if you just don't get started. And I think that's the biggest, like when we think about business failures, it's like the biggest failure is just not starting at all. So you have other questions and we can keep going on that. But that's like one of the things that is so obvious, but I completely missed when I thought about starting something this time and starting something that time. And then eventually I was like, you know what? I just got to do this.
Totally. Take the action.
Take the action, take the step, whatever it might be. It's a small thing, but you have to push yourself into that. No one else is going to do that for you.
And no one's going to give you permission to do it either. My next question is, if you don't have a prenup, you said before you do have a prenup. It's based on the state where you are. Is it based on the state where you get married, the state where you live, the state where you get divorced? Which state dictates your prenuptial agreement if you're not making one?
Yeah. So where you reside is where you would get your prenuptial agreement. And then there's a lot of different sort of, it depends. And I'm not a family law attorney, so I don't want to give legal advice on your podcast for people. But if you reside in a particular state, you reside in California, you're going to get a prenup in California. And then you would kind of work with your lawyer to get legal advice on if we decide to move to New York, like how does that come into play?
For those people who are listening and they're like, oh, this is all great. I got married 2 years ago.
We have a lot of people like this. So
like, oh shit.
Because there's such a hot conversation right now on prenup, like all things prenup. I think it's been percolating for some time, but like the Lauren Sanchez, Jeff Bezos wedding and like all of these different things. I just think this is very much in people's minds. So we hear from customers who are like, I need to get a prenup and I waited and I need to get it now. We also hear from people who are exactly like what you're talking about. They're married. They're like, this is great. I never thought about this 10 years ago, 15 years ago. We don't do this. This is what would be called a postnuptial agreement. We don't do postnuptial agreements today, but we have a lot of people that reach out about them. And I think it's just really a testament to how this conversation is evolving about prenuptial agreements.
What is a common question that keeps coming up from women or people that are using First?
People always ask us, do I need to sign my prenuptial agreement before I get married?
Right.
The answer is yes.
Yes,
you
prenuptial.
do. Prenuptial agreement. So, and people are always surprised. I think it has to be our number one question.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. I want to talk about...
But that speaks to education.
Yes.
Right? People are hearing about it. They don't quite know. They may listen to something on TikTok, see an Instagram reel from us, and then they're reaching out. And we love that. It's like, reach out.
Totally. And it's also like speaks to the fact that you're bringing in an entire cohort of people who have not really considered this before because they don't have that fundamental like understanding of what a prenup is. And I think that's amazing. I think that's great that you can take people from, do I have to sign it before I get married, through to being protected in partnership.
Absolutely.
It's awesome. The last thing I want to chat to you about is funding your business.
Okay.
You've raised a seed round, is that right?
I have raised a seed round of funding.
What can you share about that?
Yeah, we announced our seed round last year in Fortune. We raised a little over $4 million for the company from top consumer investors.
Yep.
Expa led the round, Clio Capital. We have some amazing angel investors as well. And we're really lucky to have the support of also just some amazing powerhouse women in fintech and in consumer technology, which is awesome. Went out and raised venture capital to start the business, which is different, right? Some of your community members will be bootstrapping a business. I think that's like a great way to get a company going as well. And then I think when we raised, my biggest thing was, hey, we got to get the right team and we got to get a product out so we can see if customers like it and they'll buy it.
You mentioned hiring a team and getting the product out, but talk a little bit more through those expenses in the early days. Like, what were the things that you were spending on super specifically?
Yeah. In the early days of any of these companies, as you build a team, right, your biggest expenses often are personnel expenses.
Yeah.
So those are, you're recruiting people, and it's not just cash, it's like cash and equity. And you want to give people a great package that entices them. That people have a lot of options and opportunities. So we want to give people something that gives them the motivation to be able to come and stop whatever they're doing. There's a lot of opportunity costs. We want them to come and build with us and be really excited about the mission and our customer and what we're doing. So in the early days, it's a lot of that personnel cost, which goes into then building our platform. Later down the road, like as we began selling our product, we started without any kind of paid marketing at all. And just to see on that organic flywheel, like, could we get people interested through education, through content, through word of mouth? Once we started to have customers, we quickly became the number one customer reviewed online prenup platform. And so then we see our own customers like referring us to other people. So like the person I mentioned yesterday that I happened to speak to that called us was like, yeah, a colleague of mine referred me and they did their prenuptial agreement. And so now we see those types of people are, hey, my sister's getting married now, or they kind of all want to be in this community together, which is pretty awesome. Then later, of course, you're spending on all kinds of different things, right? We're spending on paid marketing and we're trying to, invest there. We're continuing to grow our team and we want to invest in that growth. Growth is everything. So we're growing our team and most of our expenses are really around that personnel. And then of course, any type of like marketing expense, growth related, acquisition related expenses.
Okay. Very last thing I want to ask you is for a resource recommendation. So it could be a book, it could be a podcast, like something quick that people can go and check out who want to build like you've been building.
So I will say first, I love reading and I love listening to podcasts. When I am like in the zone, like I am deeply in the zone with First, I try to find my favorite things, laser in on that and listen to that. I don't listen to a ton of things at once. It's just too difficult for me. Emma Grede is a great podcast.
Yes, that's a good one.
And I think she has such an interesting way of talking through all kinds of concepts, and she's willing to get really tactical. That's the thing about pods. Like, you do a great job of this. I think your community really loves it. If anyone here pulls their notes app out and is like taking notes in this podcast, we've done a great job.
Totally.
And
That's
I
the
hope,
goal.
like, that's why I want to get really specific about what I do here, because if anyone's like, could I do that? It's like, you can do that. You can do it. You can. If I can do it, you can do it. I, come at this from a place of like, I can learn anything. I'm learning every day. If I'm, not doing something correctly, I'm going to learn, correct that, and figure out how to do it. So I think her podcast is really good.
Libby, thank you so much for coming on Female Founder World. I have learned a lot. I'm already married, but hey, maybe we need a post-up when you start doing that as a product.
Absolutely. We have a wait list, so maybe something's coming soon.
I'll join it.
And thank you. It's an honor to be here, and I'm rooting for all the besties, and I'm excited.
And we're going to have an offer for people to try First as well. I'll put it in the show notes so people can go and check out the platform.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I just wanted to end the show with a quick shout out to all of our paid Business Besties subscribers. For $12.99 a month, you get access to a weekly live call with mentors who we handpick from this podcast community. These are founders who have been on the show, experts and operators that are helping to build their businesses. And we want to give you access in a small group setting on live calls every single week so that you can get the mentorship and advice that you need to take your business to the next level. In addition to the live calls and the community, you also get access to a big database of workshop recordings, group coaching call recordings, templates, contact lists, and just all of the tools and resources that you need to make this business a success. Head to bestie.femalefounderworld.com or the link in the show notes to sign up now.